Welcome, 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 everyone. My name is Dennise Williams, and we are looking at Pivot Your Profits. It is a let me say that again, a four-part series where we're going to be looking at different ways to expand your profits. Now, first up, we have, let me come back to the flyer, some very awesome, awesome speakers. We have myself, who's awesome, of course. Then we have Happy Teachers with Denise Irvin. Then we have Bridget Buckner and Denise Marshall Miller. I'm going to ask you to drop your questions in the chat because, we're really going to look in this four-part series at different ways to pivot your profits. And hint, hint at the corner, I have a free gift for persons who stay with us to the end. So we're going to be looking during the 4 weeks at how to profit from digital currency. We're going to be looking at profiting from teaching online. We're going to look at profiting from foreign currency trading. So listen, and we're going to tie it all together with a money map, okay? So let me tell you right now. So I'm here with Dennise Irvin of Happy Teachers. And listen, Dennise, you and I met a few moons ago. And at the time, Happy Teachers was about moving physically teachers from Jamaica, the Caribbean, to the rest of the world. Yes? And you were very, very committed to the idea of helping teachers earn more by widening their borders.
Yes.
And then March 2020. What happened?
Corona hit.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is, Dennise, that I should have gone earlier, but I was just kind of doing it a bit slow. I was not going as fast as I should have, because then by the time March 2020 came, I would have been more prepared. Had I gone quicker then. You're muted, Dennise, right? So
Yes.
when March 2020 came and it hit everybody by surprise, the teachers who were already struggling, remember, teachers in Jamaica sometimes living from hand to mouth. Teachers in Jamaica sometimes, as we talked about in our last session, are in debt.
Yes.
Teachers are going through already a lot in the classroom.
And then
Corona came?
Yes. And I can say that following Happy Teachers and your posts, you went from here's a job in Dubai, here's a job in, Europe, to don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. You became motivational. In fact, you had to pivot into motivation.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The first thing I had to do was I had to do my own mental check, because I can't motivate people if I'm not motivated. Yes. So I had to go back into myself and regroup and say, okay, Dennise, this is it. At the time we thought it was gonna be just here and then gone. We didn't realize it was here to stay. So I was thinking this is a 2-month thing. So let's go straight into motivating the teachers, having the teachers look at some daily quotes and, tell them, look in the mirror, speak to yourself, encourage yourself. For the Christians out there, read your Bible and pray and eat healthy and do your physical exercise and motivate your students. Because that's the reason I did all of that, was because I thought, okay, I'm going to motivate them, but this is going to last tops 2 to 3 months. Come on. It's not going to be a year and a half going into 2 years. Come on. When have we ever seen something like this? Understand what I'm saying? So it was a bit tricky And when I realized that this was just continuing, I realized that the teachers were getting not, they were initially motivated, but then when they realized this ain't stopping, it started to decline. Their morale started to decline. They started to say to me, Mrs. Irvin, I'm ready to leave the
Yes.
classroom. I'm
Yes.
suicidal. I've had
Yes.
someone on my page say I'm suicidal. I
Wow.
contemplated committing suicide.
Wow.
I had no support.
Wow.
What problems I had before Corona, I I got into more problems and I fell deeper in the pit, and no one looked
Yes.
to help me. As a matter of
Yes.
fact, I was hearing from the teachers that the teaching community was not supporting them at all. So I
Well, I
said to,
know you
go
jumped
ahead.
in to fill the gap.
Right. So I filled the gap by motivating people, and I pivoted, telling people I always talked about teaching online, but no, I was full speed ahead teaching online because that's it now. So all
So
the
that
older
was the
teachers,
pivot.
right?
So here
All
we
the
go.
older
I
teachers
want
that didn't know what a laptop looked like and where to turn on the
right.
laptop had to
Yes.
learn now. That's where the pivot comes
Yes.
in. We had to unlearn
So
our old ways and
right.
relearn certain tools. Yeah.
Okay. So Bridget Buckner is in the
Yes.
waiting room. I don't want her to feel neglected, but I want to jump in here and I want to say, listen, you see, why Financially Focused brought this together is because when we look at 12 financial areas, savings, family money, your credit, mutual funds, investments, real estate, auto insurance, regular insurance, retirement, borrowing, we look at these 12 areas, we realized a lot of people did not have a money map. And without a money map, without an income map, there was no guidance. Okay, no guidance, and it is amazing how you can get lost when you get hit like this if you don't have guidance. So this is why I love the ladies who are here. We are live, we are raw, we're coming from our personal spaces. And I want to bring in Bridget now. And welcome, Bridget. How are you? Hold on. Hold on. You're muted. Let me take you. Yes.
I just
Yes,
realized I was muted. Hi,
right.
Denise. How you
So
doing?
yes, I have caught you in a was it a 7 day? I don't want to use the word hackathon because it's not IT, but you've been on this Zoom to really support your team in FX, trading. So we looked at and we just touched the surface, 'cause we have 4 weeks of this, we're touching the surface. But
Yes.
Benny shared 20 to March 2020 drop down on the teachers and they had to pivot first into motivation. Now, I have been sharing why I believe we all have 12 financial areas that a lot of us overlook that we can find wealth, and we need an income plan. And it so happens you've been spending about 7 days doing a income blitz with your FX people. Tell me about what happened in March 2020. Let us set the framework.
Well, Denise, it's so interesting. I don't think anybody expected a year and a half of COVID. And in March, everybody was thinking about this new decade. It's 2020. This decade is going to be the decade of all decades. And here we were battling with a global crisis. I'm in the shipping industry, imports and exports, logistics. I have a traditional business. And whereas I didn't perceive that there would be an issue in this industry, my clients are a variety of industry, and I had to begin thinking about what's going to happen when I realized that India was closing their borders, and different countries were closing, and some of my clients suppliers were in these countries where the borders were shutting, so there's no, how do you get your goods? So I'm
Right.
in business, but my clients are not in business because they can't get, their movement. So we really began to look at, how could we hedge what was going on. As a businesswoman, you always want to know how you can keep things going. You're going to have staff to pay, you're going to have, the usual expenses. And it really allowed us to begin looking at um, options. And I'm so happy for this global place we call the internet, because
Yes.
lots of ideas come from the internet, and lots of community can continue in the in you know in on online. And I'm just, it became important to think about how else could we
Right.
streaming come in. And I had a group of business people and individuals wanting to know, well, what do we do?
How did FX trading, because Venice shared that she kind of moved into online training slowly. How did FX trading come in to be? And was it because you saw borders closing, but the money was still going between people? So tell me about that.
Well, in the foreign exchange market, it doesn't sleep. It's 24 hours, 5 days a week. And if you go into other kinds of currency, which I think you have another panelist talking about,
Yes.
digital currency, that's 7 days a week, all the time. And so this is a pandemic proof area. Money will always
Ah,
move. It's pandemic proof. It's hurricane proof. It's every kind of crisis proof. Money must
right.
move. If there's a
Right.
war, if
Yes.
they're selling guns, something has to
Yes.
move. There's always going to be money. So when you're talking about a $7 trillion space, a space that used to be 5 trillion and then 6 trillion, and now
Yes.
it's up there. You need to figure out, if money is moving, why aren't you not having a piece of it? And
Ah,
foreign exchange has always been an interest of mine. I used to work in the bank when I was just out of school, so I've been around the financial market, and it was an interest. So when I got the opportunity to learn in an academy that would teach you the basics, get you trading in a couple days, it made
right.
sense to me. And we just developed a community around trading currency. And it's a transferable skill. If you love stocks or any other kind of thing, you learn to trade. So it became powerful.
Right. So what? Okay. So Venice, I'm coming back over to you. In terms of, we're still in March 2020, the need for teachers to change evidence. Okay. And I mean, you shared that some sad stories, person feeling suicidal. So we need to acknowledge the heavy mental toll. How did happy teachers shift? Because I could be, mistaken. I don't think you've given up the motivational part of happy teachers. But how did you shift, right? Because now I want everybody to make sure they watch next week, and next week we're going to be more specific in our tips. But in this first session, we really want to set the framework. How did you shift in 2020?
All right. So for 2020, we went full speed ahead with the online training part of our program. We already were sending people abroad and stuff, but we had to cut that because no one was traveling. So
Right.
everything now was just solely online. So all my assistants started working online, and then we had teachers from all over, from all walks of life, wanting to learn more about online tools, how to assess students online, how to stop students from cheating online, how to do online activities and online games. They wanted the information because they were now stuck at home with this tool, computer, with the internet, and they needed to know how to engage their students. So that's what I started doing. I also started an
Okay, so
introduction to online course.
your pivot, yeah, was then offering the training.
Absolutely. Because
Right.
we were
Yes.
doing
So
that one
Bridget,
on
over to
one,
you.
but
How
not
did
too
you
much.
pivot? Bridget, how did you pivot? How did you get persons to understand that FX trading was an option?
Well, you know what, Denise, people wanted cash flow. You know, Venice has alluded to it very well. People were already in a problem before COVID. And now you have a situation where jobs are contracting, you're getting laid off. I mean, I had one person in my community, she's in the healthcare of all places, industry. And when her payday came, her job gave her a quarter of her income and said,
Yes.
we'll give you a
Wow.
quarter now and we'll give you the other quarter next week. So she got
Wow.
half her pay in two installments. That's ridiculous. You
Yes.
know, and and
Yes.
and and because it was such a crisis, people were afraid to stand up because you rather get a quarter pay in two installments
Yes.
than nothing at all.
Well,
And
let
so
me jump. Go ahead. Go ahead.
people began to feel powerless. You know, it's like the fear of you could get laid off. You know, you don't know what your employer is going to do. They're trying to survive, you're trying to survive, and it became volatile. It's no control. So we wanted to teach people that you can take control if you have an internet and you have a phone. Thank God for technology. You could take some control back and learn a skill that would serve you for the rest of your life. So it wasn't a
Right.
hard conversation. People were looking. I found that people were online looking. Well, should I do this, that, or the other? There's 1,000 ways you can make money these days. Some people just don't want to be, blogging or jumping off a building for likes or so if you can learn a skill that you can take control of, then that made sense. And you're talking about people my age. I've got gray hair, you can see. So,
Yes.
we're talking about, well, if you're having a fallout in your income and
Right.
you don't know how long this is gonna be, then what's gonna happen if you lose that momentum going into your 50s or your 60s or your 70s? It becomes a fearful thing
Absolutely.
now. So it was a very important shift to make.
Yes. And I want to jump in on that word shift because when you look at, one of the things that we teach on Financially Focused is how to increase your savings and decrease your debt. You look at 12 areas of your life. Now, we are only focusing on one, which is your income, which is your pivoting your profit. But do you realize already how deep that is? We're looking at teaching online. We're looking at FX trading. Now, but it's so much wider because persons have the opportunity to profit from so many different areas: savings, mutual funds, their credit worthiness, and stuff. So there's a lot of strategies that we teach in Financially Focused. And I want people to be very mindful that, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling that you're in a box, there is options. And jumping back to you, Venice, about how much time for the day would you say teachers who are now upskilling, how much hours are they devoting to learning new skills so they can have, new areas of income?
I'm not hearing that, Denise. Can you repeat?
Oh, yes, sure. I was asking how many hours per day, were our teachers devoting in learning new skills, or are they just walking away from the teaching profession and trying to start from scratch? What's happening?
All right. So we're starting from March 2020, and for the entire year of 2020, they were learning new skills, using that time to learn new skills. They use about maybe 6 hours for the week, just trying to learn new skills, trying to get something under their belt so that if they did want to walk
six
away,
hours you
they
said,
could walk
right?
away
Right.
confidently. Now, I do know that there are quite a few of them who have walked away from their traditional teaching jobs. And what they are doing now is that they are trying to find another area in teaching to do. So many of them have opened their own online tutoring company or their little
Okay.
tutoring business.
All
That is a
right.
big
So
thing
see
now
there,
for the
that's another
teachers.
pivoting
I
online
know why
tutor.
they had to pivot. You know why they had to pivot, Denise? just mentioned somebody that got quarter pay. Listen to me. My teachers weren't getting paid for 3 months straight. 3 months. So they were at a crossroads where their back is against the wall. Is either I go get another job and try to figure this out, or I stay at home and starve. That's where they were at.
Right.
And that's where I came in to help them to just get their online tutorial business off the ground, teach them digital skills and so forth. That's what we just had to do.
Okay, Bridget, same question to you. About how many hours a day are your FX trading students dedicating? I mean, March came, July, August, jumped to December. I mean, people had to make some decisions. Tell me about that.
It's interesting because why I like this area as well is it fits to everybody differently. It's 24 hours. There is, if you understand FX trading, there are financial markets all around the world. In London, that's a different time zone from the New York session or the London or the Asia session, so around the clock. So people who still had jobs could trade in the evenings, or they could trade early in the morning. So we find that people had to learn. Now you're talking about pivoting, people had to begin to adjust. If you decide that you need to do something different, and learning to trade was one, you use the word upskill and retool. Well, there's some sacrifice that comes with that. So some people had to go have a nap in the evening and wake up in the morning early and be studying and learning and practicing and being in the market. So, anywhere from an hour to a day, people can trade for 2 hours and make. I remember one morning, one of our students posted in our group chat, $540. This is 6:30 in the morning, and here I go off to work now. So,
Right.
she was up 3 o'clock in the morning trading till 5:30 and made $500. And then now you get to go to work. So, it's not a matter of how many hours. It really is learning the skill in a way that you can make it work for you in your time.
Right. Right. Okay, so we're talking about minimum 2 hours, maybe maximum 6 hours, depending on where you are. So again, we're
I'll
back
tell you
to
something more. I don't mean to cut you then, but
sure.
even 15 minutes, once you learn the skill, you
Yes.
know, you don't have to be sitting. A misconception is that you have to sit in front of the charts all day long and watch you know, let me watch this trade. When you learn it, you can set trades and leave them. So you could literally do an analysis, set your trade up, go about your day, check in on it every now and then. There are different types of traders, which I guess we'll get into in later sessions.
Right. So we are, because we want to
There are
make
ways,
sure
there are
people stay
ways to
with us
not. There are
through the 4 weeks.
we're
Yes.
gonna put the whole kitchen sink out today, yes.
Right.
But
Right.
it's interesting. It's an interesting question. How many hours? Because it can
Right.
be small spurts of time. It could be somebody who wants to trade all day or half a day, and it's flexible and
Right.
it's
Right.
unlimited, really.
Right. So where we are is that we're actually slowly building out the elements of the money map, because we're saying how you divide up your day. You may have a traditional job, which is awesome, and then you can sleep or nap and then get up to meet the overseas markets to learn FX trading. But then Venice is also saying that you can set up your online school. So you may have invested in a master's degree in education. You don't have to throw that through the window. So I'm going to throw that to you, Venice. Back, we're still in 2020. Persons who are taking home, well, Bridget, her lucky friends got 25%, and Venice, you're 3 months with nothing. At that point, when they are calling you, Venice, and saying, I haven't been paid in 3 months, how are you guiding them? Because yes, you're motivating them, but there had to be an end game because you needed them to be lifted up.
Absolutely. So what I asked them to do in that
Oh my goodness. Oh,
in the summer of, can you hear me? In the summer of 2020, I got them to do a game plan. I said, this is the summer, we're still under lockdown and we're still under this coronavirus. Let us see what we can do in this summer to get you off your feet. And I'm telling you, between March, April, May, sometimes June, people were saying to me they weren't getting their paychecks from the ministry by then. Or many of them were in private schools and the private schools had to close down because kids weren't going to school. So I said to them, the first thing you need to do to get money coming in right now is just get a quick online job. So I had them interview with different online tutorial companies that were already looking people to teach, mostly to teach English, but they had other subjects too, and they would just nab a job quickly, and that would keep the money coming in. I remember this is foreign exchange coming in for them. In addition to that, I had them starting making a nice, quick business plan, nothing too elaborate, to start their online tutorial business. They would like a little flyer with their services on the flyer, go to Canva, hello, and just do a nice little artistic flyer, send it out to the parents that they are, the students that they teach, and send it out and see who is interested in whether it's one-on-one or group classes. You don't have to compete with the schools. You can do extra lessons, for example. You can have pep class, for example. You can have language class, for example. You don't have to say that you're running an entire school like you're competing with the main school. You're just a tutorial teacher just trying to make extra money here and there.
So
And
you
people
got
started coming in.
so you got persons to niche down. So I may have a master's degree in language arts. I didn't have to throw that away. So you help them to earn some foreign currency by teaching on for the existing online platforms, but then you
Right.
got them to
Right.
pivot to their own online platform. But guess
Absolutely.
what, Bridget, I'm coming to you now. You are also showing people in this, because we're still in 2020. You were showing people in the middle of a pandemic how to earn a different currency. What difference did that make in persons' lives?
Oh, that's huge, 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 huge. At the beginning of this pandemic, the dollar was what, a 125 to 1. Now it's 150. That alone tells you, inflation is, or in fact, some economists talking about possible deflation, which is
Yes.
worse than
Right.
inflation. So in
Right.
the next 18 months, it can get really serious if things don't change. So to be able to earn an income in US dollars, for example, and be able to convert it to the local currency, literally, if somebody can make $100, I give you another example. We have someone who is a security guard at a popular hotel in Ocho Rios. And here's a gentleman who saw what we were doing and wanted to get in on our program, and he couldn't afford the first month's, subscription to learn how to get this education. And he saw the vision though, because he knew he didn't want his life to be the way it was. And he got his money together. And within 3 weeks, Dennis, I kid you not, he was so dedicated. He was on every class. And in 3 weeks, he not only learned how to trade and generate at least $100 to $250 a day, but he
Mm.
actually had $1,000 a day. So
Wow.
to learn, and not everybody has that. There are some people in the program, for 3 months and don't have $1,000 a day. People have different risk appetite. People are, not everybody's as dedicated. But if you're somebody who knows that you can stick to something and learn it, sky's the limit. And we had to train people's mindset to say, listen, don't just think you just want to make money for making sake. It's not about hustling money. It's not about a get rich quick. And in fact, trading is not get rich quick at all. It is managing your risk and being able to generate um, steady income on top of each other, compounding over time. That's going to get you there. So the mindset had to be, why are you doing this? Let's focus your mind not to be in a panic. We had to help calm people down. Don't be in a panic. Don't be scared. And think about the possibilities of your
Yes.
life.
Yes.
What is it that you want? And once you begin to
Yes.
think about what's possible, then you could work on a goal and say, okay, well, I need to trade and make $100 a day or $200 a day, or my goal is $500 a day. In fact, we don't even teach people to measure the money. We teach them to measure the activity, which we'll get into. That's something people learn, but we teach you, don't even focus on the money per day. Focus on the
Mm.
activity that you need to do daily to learn and to grow and to be able to see the changes happening. And the money comes after that. It's,
Okay, I'm
it's in the
coming
mind.
back to you. I'm coming back to you, Venice, because when we're back to mindset. We're 2020. Did you feel a difference by Christmas in terms of how the teachers were adjusting to the changes? Because remember, we're pivoting your profits. We're looking at how different ways to earn came into play or became more important in the pandemic. So what would you say now, 22 Christmas 2020?
Christmas 2020, the mindset was changed. Number one, we realized that the pandemic is not going anywhere. It is here. We realized that online learning is also not going anywhere. It is here and it is here to stay. So the teachers started to have this mindset of, okay, this is how I'm going to have to work it out for maybe the next foreseeable future. Yeah. This is not going away in the next 2 months or so. So there's some form of permanency in their minds that they're saying, okay, I need to get this off the ground because this is probably how it's going to look for the next couple of months or the next couple of years. So that was where
Right.
the mindset was. And they were more motivated because by the time summer left and the last September came around, by the time Christmas came around, they were more used to being in front of the camera. They were confident. They were seeing that more opportunities online was coming out. Everybody was working remotely by that time. Companies were issuing remote contracts and saying, okay, you don't have to come in, you can stay at home and work. So they were juggling a lot of things. They were working for their main school, they were doing their own online tutorial, and also working for foreign companies online too. So they were doing a lot. In Christmas too, we saw a lot of teachers handing in resignation letters and
Oh,
leaving the classroom, their traditional classroom, and going into their
Wow.
own full-time business online. So there has been a shortage of teachers since last year, Christmas, even up till now. If you look in the newspapers, there's a lot of vacancies for teachers because the teachers have been leaving. And guess what? Some of them have decided to go abroad. So even in the middle of the pandemic, they're planning on packing up their suitcases and jumping on a plane and going, braving COVID and still going because that's where the opportunities are.
Wow.
yeah. So Bridget, over to you. Christmas by Christmas 2020. How would you say your group, how were they adjusting to the reality?
It's similar. It just began to sink in. People were now taking it more seriously. Before, people were not necessarily putting in any kind of cemented plans. They were kind of just waiting. It was a wait and see game. But when you have food to put on the table, you can't be reactive. You've got to be proactive. And people began to realize that, you know what, if I don't do something fast for me, who's going to do it? It's not going to be your boss, it's not going to be the government. And things kept changing. So they realized, they began to look. People were looking, and you'd be surprised how many people were looking for what they could do online, because there was also that fear of, what is this thing? So if you could find something to do at home, that would make sense. So, this
Right.
whole season of taking your skill and showing it online, whether, if you bake, do a show on baking, whatever it is, people began to think about, what could I do online? So online
Right.
became the place. And if you're talking about your finances and you could do something to control your finances online, whether it's extra income or to take control of your wealth growth, your investment growth, then that would be it. And if you're talking about investment, you need capital. How do you
Right.
get the capital? So, foreign exchange trading became a way that you could use a relatively small amount of money to leverage a broker and build capital. So then you
Right.
take the capital, not just sustain your life, but then you can begin to think about, well, could I start a business? People began to think, in an entrepreneurial way as well, with trading
Yeah.
becoming cash flow for for
Right.
for change. For people began to really look within. Well, what skill do I have? What can I learn? What can I do? And foreign exchange is really just a vehicle. Some people want to become a professional trader, but a lot of people see it as a vehicle for cash flow, for capital to invest and grow more money, or to stop a gap right now in their income, as well as be capital to start a new business.
Right. Right. Okay. So where we are in this first session is that we've talked about when the brakes on the car slammed in 20 March 2020 and persons face certain unpleasant realities. So what's the takeaway? Okay, so the takeaway from the happy teacher side was mindset and re-strategizing. So you weren't throwing away your you did your master's degree in language arts, so you weren't throwing that away. You had to look at it in a different way. Yes, we had migration. Yes, we had resignations, but we also had a shift. And so learning to put your talent
Mm,
online,
yes.
learning to niche down. So yes, you're not competing with the school that you left. You're just teaching your little session. For Bridget, FX trading, you make the investment to learn about how to do it, and then you take that learning and you do it.
Yes.
Right? And imagine for a security guard who invested and then decided, he's not playing around and he's doing 100 to 250 a day. What a difference that makes in his life. So he also pivoted his profits. But the other takeaway from this is that nobody's leaving their day job and nobody's trying to do a get rich quick plan.
Right.
So I just want to again bring back this visual to say that, the financially focused approach is to create a money map so that you look at all the areas that you have. I like to call them financial power tools. Now, I want to give a free gift to persons who have stayed with us so far. So we have a free 21-day challenge on the website to increase your savings and reduce your debt. And I just want to post the website just in case you don't know it. It's financiallyfocusedmedia.com, and you will have access to the 21-day challenge. You're going to have 21 days of savings tips, of debt management tips, of income tips, career tips, investment tips. We want to do a deep dive so that at the end of the 21 days, you come out with plan of action. So back to our guests. Now, Dennise, I wanted to pull you back in when we got to January, and that's where we're going to stop because we don't want to give away too much and not have everybody come back next week. But by the time we got to January, what we Christmas, we knew that the online thing was here to stay. We knew that, things had changed. What were some of the New Year's resolutions? What were some of the New Year's plans that teachers shared with you?
All right. So for the teachers in January, what they had started to do for those who were freshly resigned, they went straight full speed ahead into their own online tutorial business. They came to me asking how to get private students. So they, even though they have some local students, the pandemic is rough on everyone. So sometimes those same parents may not have the money to keep up, and to keep their students, to keep their children in tutoring, classes. So the teachers were looking outside of Jamaica, saying, where can I go to get students to build up my tutorial business? So
Right.
I introduced them to students outside that maybe don't speak English but need an English teacher, students from Trinidad, students from Barbados, students from Antigua. So we start looking regionally and then internationally, because once you're online, there's no borders, right? No borders. So they can find now their clients all over the world. And I gave them some good tips on where they can go to get some good private students.
Okay. And so, Bridget, same question to you. January 2021, what was happening?
That was the same kind of thing. It's just more of the same. People really intensified their efforts to make a shift in their mindset. And one of the challenges that I had was getting people to be over the fear, because now, we had people trying to learn things new. We had people who had to now be adjusting to online. Some people were not as techie as they thought they were. Some people were really hesitant to try and learn to download this app and that app and get over that hurdle. Using Zoom, something as simple as mastering Zoom, for some people was a hurdle. So simple little things, people needed to simply learn more. And some I forget who wrote it now, but it was said that the future doesn't belong to the educated. It doesn't belong to those who know how to read and write. It belongs to those who can adapt to change. And unless you
Right.
can adapt, the future will leave you behind. It
Right.
doesn't matter how
Right.
much you know now. Doesn't matter how skilled you are now. Can you adapt to what's necessary tomorrow? And that has
Right.
been, I think, the greatest challenge that people have had to do, is to pivot everything to working from home, to allocating areas of their house for children versus their work versus the technology, overcoming new technology, plus learning something new. If you're going to learn to, for example, like Venice and her folks, you're going to teach online. Well, do you know how to use, a streaming platform? Do you know how to edit a video? And it's the same thing, in our space, where you're learning these new financial skills. But what we have to teach everything. It's not just make the money, but keep the money, grow the money, protect the money, understand the obligations that come with new money, with more money, understand
Right.
banking, understand. So you've had to now realize that I can't just go along. I've got to take responsibility for every move I make going
Absolutely.
forward. There's you have to be tight. You can't just hope it falls into place. You now need to sit down and plan. When am I going to trade? What am I going to do this money? How much money do I want to make a day? You have to have a trading plan. What's my
Right.
trading plan? And stick to your trading plan, which we'll get into some
Right.
of the tips later on.
Yes.
But it's
Yes.
strategy to literally put your life in order. Where's the money sources coming from? This is one
Right.
source, this is another, this is another. What do we do with that?
Right.
And then now, how do I equip myself to maximize these opportunities coming in front of my face? Because it's no good you see an opportunity and you can't seize it because you're ill-equipped. You're afraid
Yes.
of an email, or you're afraid of an app, or you're not managing time, or you've got to just grow
Right.
in every area. And that
Yes.
that that I think is probably the most powerful realization of my community, is that, what, guys, we want, but you have to do first before you get.
Right.
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 So
Right.
that has, I think, been the tipping point for everybody, that I am just at this limit where I have to learn, I have to change, or else I'm going to be in the wilderness. So that
Right.
I think is the
So,
biggest.
all right. So I want to thank everyone who has stayed with us. Of course, I want to thank the persons who are going to watch in the replay, and I want to remind you of my free gift to you, a free 21-day challenge to increase your savings and reduce your debt. In 21 days, we have 5 areas we're going to reinforce. This challenge has workbooks, on demand videos to help you increase your savings and reduce your debt. Now, Dennise, happy teachers. We're in 2021. We're not going to go too far down the road because we're going to save that for next session. But in terms of the Happy Teachers Facebook page, how active is it and how do I join it?
Listen. It is, Dennise, you are how active it is. Listen, we have about 50 to 80 teachers coming on the platform every week, just joining every week. We've blown up proportionally. Listen, since this corona, people have been coming on, they comment, they ask questions, they encourage and motivate also. If they have any job opportunities they want to put on the page, they do put that on the page too. Sometimes they put a little daily quotes and the Bible verse on the platform also. So it is a lovely community. We are like a family.
Yes.
And I encourage the family to help each other. To, if you know of anything, if you have any information, share. I mean, each one help one, each one lift up each other. And as we lift up each other, we lift up Jamaica, our country also. I forgot to mention too that one thing that the teachers are getting into that I didn't mention earlier is they are now into this social media influencer thing.
Yes.
So they're becoming educator and influencers in the education field. They're starting their YouTube channels. They have their Snapchat. They have their Instagram. They have their Facebook. They have their little groups and stuff that they've started. They do their YouTube channel dedicated YouTube channel. Dennise can tell you a little bit about that.
Yes.
And they put they drop their gems. They do the interviews and stuff to just get their momentum going. Sometimes it helps them to just do something where they have nothing to do. Yeah, it helps and it gets their name out there. That's something I said to the teachers. Sorry about that. Many of the teachers to me, Miss, I want an online job. Miss, my back is against the wall. Miss, I need something to earn. I need something to do so I can earn some money. I say to them, do you have an Instagram account? Are you on Facebook? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have an online presence? And the resounding answer was no. I said, if you want an online job, how are you going to get one without an online presence? When these online employers are looking the first thing they do is go and Google your name.
That's right.
They Google your name. If you have no presence, that means you don't exist in this time and age.
Right.
Yeah? So Bridget, that is what they have been doing, increasing their social media presence.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Bridget, how can anyone get in touch with you if they want to learn FX trading?
Right. Well, we are actually building out a team community page, but for now they would have to contact me directly on social media at Bridget Bucknell or at Bridgebuck on everywhere, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, can search my name. But it really is something interesting that you said, online presence, that's where it's at. You have to be online.
Yes.
And it truly is a shift that people have got to get used to. If you're afraid of it, you can't be. You have to embrace it.
Right.
It's years now in the making. And just like foreign exchange trading, it's years in the making. And there's been so much misunderstanding about it that people fear it. And they don't need to fear it. They need to embrace it, learn it, and use that skill to their advantage, because it can create the kind of cash flow that can change your life. That control to make money whenever. It's powerful.
All right. So in our next,
Bridget, and I was about to say that the online presence is here to stay, and not only your online presence, but your online reputation. Don't think you can come online and argue with people and be rude and be curt, and people don't see it. And when you're looking for opportunities or jobs, people don't listen now. Your online reputation is very important. I want to drop that,
Yes.
Denise. I hope we can talk about it
Yes.
a little later in the evening.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so important because I've seen grown men and women make a fool of themselves online and think it's cute. It's not cute. Yeah? So treat your online presence as your resume. Yeah?
Yes.
And make sure
Another
that your
pivot point
reputation is
indeed.
spotless.
Yes, Bridget.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a very big pivot point. Your
Yes, your
online
online reputation.
reputation, your
Yes.
authenticity in everything.
Yes.
You have to
Yes.
be honest about whatever you do,
Yes.
and
All right.
transparency becomes so important. So I agree with that 100%, and that's another pivot point. The social media is no longer for idle conversation. You know, you if you do that, it shouldn't be in a
No.
public space. You have to,
Right.
if you're
Right.
in business or you're trying to build a brand, then you've got to be brand conscious at all times. It's so
Yes.
very
Absolutely.
I definitely
Yes. Agree. Ladies, thank you. Next week, we're going to talk about how to make $100. That's all. Just $100. That's a challenge. It's little. Maybe we should make it 1 million. Look at Venice's face. We should make it how to make $1 million. We're gonna keep it simple because you know what? What we need is just the process, the understanding of how to make $100. And that is how we're going to pivot our profits. And I just want to remind you before we close out that we have a free 21-day challenge to increase your savings and reduce your debt. And I would be remiss to say, like the challenge, like my channel, share, let your friends know that Financially Focused, Happy Teachers, Bridget Buckner, Bridge Buck, we're here. We're all helping professionals and we want you to pivot your profits. Ladies, thank you for being on our program tonight and farewell to everyone. And thank you for all who watch on the replay. All right. Bye, Venice. Bye, Bridget.
Bye.
pleasure,
Thank
pleasure
you.
being here.
Mama, do